Did you know the basic controller in your hands is basically a Frankenstein of ideas from different decades? One company gave us the D-pad, another normalized shoulder buttons, another made twin sticks feel mandatory, and somewhere in the middle, people willingly bought a three-pronged alien boomerang. In 1972, the living room future looked weirdly homemade. The Magnavox Odyssey landed as the first home video game console, but its controllers were little boxes with three knobs and a reset-style button. You didn't just play on the TV, you taped plastic overlays to the screen and pulled out dice, score sheets, even paper money. It sold about 69,000 that first year, then roughly 350,000 before disappearing. By 1978, the weird knobs gave way to something instantly readable: a black stick and one red button. The Atari 2600 shoved that layout into living rooms, and its CX40 let you snap in 8 directions, then fire with your thumb. Simple on purpose, very arcade. And because cartridges kept changing the game, that one controller had to work for everything. By 1982, that flexibility shrank into your hands. On Nintendo's Game & Watch Donkey Kong, a joystick would have stuck out like a car gear shift, so they flattened movement into a thumb-size cross. Simple, tight, brilliant. The D-pad solved a space problem for one handheld, then escaped into everything: console pads, TV remotes, menu screens, tiny plus sign, massive aftershock. Tiny plus sign, massive aftershock. In 1983, Nintendo's Famicom lands in Japan and brings that D-pad into the living room. The controller goes flat and rectangular with two face buttons, Start and Select, laid out like a blueprint. Next to the old joystick, it looks almost shockingly clean. This is the turn. Less arcade stick, more thumb machine, built for precise movement, not wrestling a lever. By 1990, the thumb machine grows extra limbs. The Super Famicom pad adds more face buttons, then shoulder buttons up top. That lands right when games get busier. Run, jump, swap, map, all at once. And the shoulder buttons are the trick. Your index fingers join the party instead of dumping every job on your thumbs. That split feels so right. Later controllers across the industry start tracing the same shape. Then 1996 yanks the whole thing into 3D. The Nintendo 64 drops a controller that looks like a tiny spaceship with 3 handles, and right in the middle, the stick. Suddenly, your thumb isn't choosing directions, it's steering a full circle. Weird looking, totally, but grab the center handle, squeeze the trigger underneath, and it clicks. Then the rumble pack starts buzzing, and your hands feel every hit, crash, and cliff edge. That buzz barely fades before Sony hands you something new. First the dual analog, then the DualShock. Suddenly there are 2 thumbsticks. One steers your character, the other swings the camera, and 3D space finally feels tame. PlayStation says analog control first opened up movement in games like Ace Combat, but this twin-stick layout is the one that sticks. For action, aiming, exploring, this is the map everyone keeps. Then 2006 yanks the controller off the couch and puts it in your hand like a TV remote. The Wii turns pointing, swinging, and a little wild flailing into the whole idea. Wii Sports is so everywhere that Nintendo has to print wrist strap warnings, because people are basically bowling at the television. This doesn't just change the shape of the controller, it changes who gaming looks like it's for. By 2012, Nintendo hands you something that looks like a mini console in your hands: the Wii U gamepad, built around a big touchscreen. One screen hangs on the TV, another lights up in your lap. Menus, maps, aiming, inventory, split across both. And sometimes the whole game jumps down to the controller so the television can go do something else. Messy launch, sharp idea, the controller starts acting like its own device. By 2020, Sony swings back with the DualSense for PS5 and the pad gets weirdly physical. The old buzz is gone. Dual actuators paint tiny footsteps, rain, and engine grit into your hands. Then L2 and R2 stiffen on the fly. Pull a bow, slam the brakes, feel the controller push back. It's not just sending inputs now, it's sending drama back. And that's the funny part. Controllers didn't evolve in a straight line. They accreted. One good idea at a time. A pad here, a stick there, a trigger, some motion, and suddenly your thumbs are operating 40 years of design history without even thinking about it.